Okay, welcome everybody. I'm sorry. God, it's just so frustrating how my soundboard updated and all of a sudden nothing works half the time. Half the time when I open vMix and I start streaming, it just doesn't connect, nothing, just no audio whatsoever. Sometimes when that happens, I have to close and reopen vMix. Best case scenario, which just happened. And other times I have to fully reboot my computer and soundboard, inexplicably, for absolutely no reason. Ever since the update. This did not happen before the update. Drives me insane. Oh my God, it breaks my workflow and everything. I'm not here to bitch. Well, I am kind of here to bitch, aren't I? I mean, that's, to some degree, at least a little bit, my job. Bitching. And I think I do a damn good job of bitching. So, there you go. All right, well, let's talk about what we're going to hit, shall we? You guys can hear me, right? I am audible now. Is Wednesday and Thursday starting at noon Central, 1 p.m. now? Yes, I think it is. Yeah. Until at least my kid starts sleeping through the night, until I can get on a somewhat normal schedule, and even then, it may move up. It may change. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. It's complicated because my wife works too, you know. So I got to figure out when I can stream that will make me available to watch the kid while she works, and vice versa. She can watch the kid while I stream. So yeah, sorry about having to change things around. It's just a mess. Anyway, it's hard to have a kid who literally does not sleep through the night, only sleeps in 2-hour increments, and that's it. That's fucking hard. Sleeping in 2-hour increments and not even reliably then. Sometimes she's awake and complaining and screaming at the top of her fucking lungs for 2 hours straight. And then other times she's sleeping for 2 hours straight. But pretty reliably, every 2 to 3 hours, she's awake and needs tending. You gotta change her, you gotta feed her, you gotta, you know? Really difficult. I don't, like... When I did it last time around, when Alpha Force Zero was a baby, I lived with my family. My, not Jehovah's Witness family, but Alpha Force Zero's family. And they were there to help, you know? Sometimes they'd take her, sometimes they'd change her, they'd feed her for me or whatever. I can't imagine having no family, no help, and being a single mother. And being expected to work on top of all of that. It's crazy. That's the world that we live in right now, unfortunately. All right, let's hit this, shall we? This is Kent Christmas. Ridiculous name, I know. Don't get me started. He's a prophet of God. In fact, more than that, a prophet of Trump. He is a Trump theologist. And he says... he never prophesied that political figures were going to die.
In fact, the Lord said there's such a wave of the anointing of God coming that it's going to hit Congress, it's going to hit the White House, and the day...
I'm sorry, let me say that again. And he says God told him he was going to take out members of Congress out of retribution. Of course, this is not the first time he's said this. And it certainly won't be the last. Just give this a listen.
In fact, the Lord said there's such a wave of the anointing of God coming that it's going to hit Congress, it's going to hit the White House, and the days are going to come, saith the Lord, that I'm going to mute the mouth of the evil one, and those that have made covenant with the devil, I'm going to remove them. And the Lord said that it's a wave not just of judgment. God said also, when the glory of the Lord is released, he said death is going to hit the wicked kingdom.
I.e., God said he's going to convert a bunch of congressmen, And he also told me he's going to take them all out by force. If you like, I don't know how to say this in a monetizer friendly way. He's going to send a death angel from heaven to take out all of his enemies. Basically what he's saying right now. Okay? So that's disgusting and psychotic in its own right. But here's where it gets interesting. This is not the first time he said it. In fact, he said it for literally 4 years straight after his prophecy that Trump was going to win in 2020 failed. He said all of these people who made the 2020 election go to Biden wrongly, you know how he does, are going to pay the ultimate price at God's hand.
And he said, the gallows that have been built to hang the gospel on.
Wait, the gallows that have been built to hang the gospel on. So, God told him the hangman's rope that people built to hang the gospel on, go on,
are going to be reversed. And God said, I'm going to reverse it, and I'm going to hang those that built it on their own judgment.
That is, in its own right, an absolutely psychotic thing to say, genuinely. That is, by no stretch of the imagination, the most psychotic thing that he's said. Let me just tee him up, show you what kind of a person he is. Listen to this one.
Anybody that has an incurable disease or you're terminally ill, I want you to stand. See, 1, 2, 3.
So he's counting terminally ill people in his congregation.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, there's several. All right, we have some in wheelchairs, but God sees you standing by faith.
It's because he's got, his church is gigantic. He's a mega church pastor.
All right.
Do you hear the poor dumb fool in the background speaking in tongues?
We're going to put the word of God to the test. In the name of Jesus, I heal your body. And I command every incurable disease and every terminal disease in the name of the Lord to leave your body. I am...
How fucking vile is that? To promise people who have incurable terminal illnesses that they're going to be cured by God. And what's even more vile than that, if you can believe it, at the end of the service, he says he casts an anointing over every tither in the building. So the cures don't apply to anybody in the audience. Siri, stop.
There's nothing playing.
They apply to anybody that's giving him 10% of their monthly income. If you aren't giving him 10% of your monthly income, then you don't get cured from your terminal illness. So what do people do? Naturally, they divert the money they're paying to the doctor into Kent Christmas's pockets. And you know what? Then, I'm sorry, let me say it again. And you know what else they do? They deed their property and inheritance to these places, to these churches. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, even, who are not televangelists, have a thing on their website about how to send your inheritance to them. Fucking disgusting. These people are evil. Seriously. Godly my ass.
Reversing, says the Lord, what hell has put in your body, and we are binding it in the name of Jesus. Now, according to the word of the Lord, that they shall be healed. These signs shall follow them that believe. To every one of you that are sick, I command the demon of infirmity to come out of your body. Go! Hallelujah! We're not going to war over this, Satan. You're going to leave by the authority of the name of Jesus and the blood of the Lamb. And this day right now, across the earth, I loose the healing virtue of the Lord on your body. You're healed right now. Many of you are being healed right now. You're saying, oh my goodness, what's happening to me? That is the Spirit of God around the world right now. And there is a wave of the anointing of God that has touched your life in Jesus' name.
Fucking disgusting. Check this clip out. This is Gene Bailey, who wrote this book that we're going through right now on my Unfiltered channel. He wrote this book. It's titled Killing America, Turning the Tide on the Tsunami of Darkness. Anyway, Gene Bailey, Robin Bullock, Dutch Sheets, Hank Kunneman, Kent Christmas, and I believe this is Mario Murillo on the end, and Todd Coconato to the left of him. All absolutely psychotic, broken individuals who claim that God heals people through them. Listen to what Kent Christmas said here.
And you'll see even as I...
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. This is Tim Dixon. Tim Dixon, who is speaking, who is Kent Christmas's mentor or mentee or whatever. Kent Christmas mentors the dude. He's trying to bring him to a pastorship or whatever.
And you'll see even as I've spoke through them all, that this day I'll have my fireworks. I'll have my day, saith the Lord, for it has begun. I shall drown all the enemy, saith the Lord God.
I shall drown all of the enemy, says the Lord God. He's speaking on God's behalf for us right now.
Shall bring forth this word speedily, saith the Lord, and by the end of the closing of July, you'll know that I have spoke this day, that my words shall come to pass, even as I have said. And
oh boy, did you catch that? That sounded like a prophecy to me. God is delivering a message to mankind through Tim Dixon. And what message does God have for humanity that he wants Tim Dixon to deliver? By the end of July 2021, I think, what was he saying here? A bunch of politicians are going to be killed and some big, insane event is going to happen. Yes, July 2021. Seriously, these people know they can say anything they want with no repercussions. They know they can say whatever they want, even though it's a flat-out, bald-faced fucking lie. And their audience, their congregation, is going to believe them anyway. You just wait and see. It's going to happen any 5 minutes now.
Not the longest, you'll know that I am God over this state.
By the end of July 2021, you will know that I am God over the states. Oh, just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies on that one, didn't he? Check this one out from Kent Christmas.
All of these evil men that the enemy is manipulating in this nation. Yesterday, when God began to prophesy, and you've heard me say it here recently.
When God began to prophesy, not when I began to prophesy on God's behalf. When God began to prophesy, the words that came from my lips were God's voice. What a vile sack of shit, bro. Really.
As I heard the Lord tell me, he said, I'm going to loose a death angel in the earth. And this morning I was in prayer and I was reflecting on that because I realized it was a very strong word.
I bet.
I'm not just slinging stuff out when I prophesy. I'm hearing
I don't believe you.
what the Lord has to say, and I understand the impact of it. The Lord spoke to me. He said, And it's the same angel that I loosed in Egypt.
God is loosing the same angel on U.S. politicians in 2022 that he loosed on Egypt. Okay. Where's the angel? You gonna show us? You know, I did a video on my main channel recently about televangelists claiming to heal people. But for some weird reason, nobody ever stands up out of their wheelchair and verifiably was paralyzed before and is no longer paralyzed. Is that weird to anybody else? Nobody ever goes up on stage with a missing leg and is prayed over as we watch the leg regrow right in front of us. That never, literally never, not one time ever happened. When are people going to connect the dots that these people are lying scumbags, taking advantage of gullible suckers, fleecing them for every fucking penny they own? Is that ever going to happen?
Man, I feel the sovereignty of the Lord. They ain't going to be voted out. They're going to be removed out.
They're going to be murdered brutally by God. And people are cheering for this. Okay? Believe it or not, it gets even worse than that. How is God going to execute his plan? I hear you asking. Well, we heard him say it was death angels, right? Well, I guess he's changed his mind. Death angels aren't enough. God needs us, human beings, to do the heavy lifting on his behalf, apparently.
You want to know why the Muslim faith has had its advancements? It's because the Muslims were willing to die for their belief. They were willing to strap bombs to their chest. They believed in the afterlife. God, give us some men and women that'll get a hold of some passion in their spirit that says, I will lay down my life for the gospel.
You know why Muslims have been so successful? Because they strap bombs to their chests and run into crowds and detonate them. We need to be willing to lay our lives down like that. That is what he just said. That is what he said. What the fuck? How is this not like front page news in every fucking newspaper across America that televangelists with tens of thousands of people following their church, attending every week, are literally telling Christians to strap bombs to their chest and do something psychotic because God wants to use them as a tool? That is insane. And he's still saying it to this day. These people are broken inside. They are straight up broken. How does one get how does one get to this point? How does somebody get to this point in their lives where they are literally calling for actual physical extremist violence? And why the fuck isn't something being done about this? Is this not illegal? I feel like it's illegal to literally call for violence. I thought it was. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Just insane. Absolutely insane. All right, let me pull up... let's pull up Cat Kerr. Why not? Oop. Hold on. Okay, good. Is this one their most recent one? Yeah, it is, I think. 2022. Yeah. Move this one here, move this one here. Okay, good. Yes, good. All right. This is Kat Kerr. You may be familiar with her. She's the woman who said, in the name of Jesus, I declare Hurricane Dorian isn't going to make landfall or hurt anybody. And then it just wreaked havoc on the country. And she faced absolutely no consequences for her false prophecy afterward. In fact, she's still making those false prophecies. Listen to what she said in this one. This is a brand new one.
Jesus has his own business office in heaven. It's called Central Station. I do know Oral Roberts works there, and I do know Billy Joe Daughtry works there, and I do know also right now that that Charlie Kirk works there with Jesus.
Jesus works in heaven and has an office there. I buy it. And Charlie Kirk is there in heaven with him. That's probably the least believable part of it. You know, you want to sell me on the idea that God is real and or that he has a literal office in heaven. Okay. But Charlie Kirk in heaven? I'm sorry. That's a step too far.
And what does he do? He gets to shoot arrows of light, which are very dangerous against hell. He gets to shoot arrows of light down into the areas where there's a lot of darkness on this earth. And guess what? It gets crushed. The darkness will be crushed. I was caught up the day that Charlie passed. I've already talked to Erica. She knows that. She knows all about it.
I've talked to Erica Kirk. I'm sorry. I don't believe her. She claims to have Trump's phone number and says that Trump is always telling her all kinds of spiritual things. That's a bit far-fetched for me. She's not a nobody, though, is the problem here. She's actually extremely well-known. And, you know, it's kind of surprising to think that she has Trump's number. I don't think I believe that, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. She is an evangelical who's extremely famous and writes the curriculum for certain Christian schools, especially the Bethel School of the Supernatural. I believe that's the name of it. She's very involved with those people. Very well known, very reputable. But she does lie constantly, so there's that. Well, that was the end. Anyway, if you don't know Kat Kerr, buckle up.
And what they're doing is illegal, literally illegal, like traitors to this country, and they're usually shot. I'm just going to be blunt. You want me to be blunt?
Yes, that would be great. Please be blunt.
As blunt as you want on this day. Be as blunt as you want.
God has adamantly told me some of them will not live through this. He's talking about the left, the illegal, not the illegal aliens. I'm talking about the ones who are trying to run this. They want this world, but this is what they say. This is what the left says. When we get America, we get the world.
The left says that? I have not heard literally a single human being on the left say that. She's stuck in this bizarre ass-backward mindset where the left is trying to institute global communism, and if we can just convince everybody to be communists, then we can destroy the planet for Satan, our God, Satan the devil. It's fucking insane, dude. Oh my God, please get help, Kat. I'm begging you. Somebody get... Like, at this point, the things that she said, honestly, somebody should have taken her car keys away like a long fucking time ago. You know, you hear your mom or your dad say some shit like this, and you're getting them screened for dementia. Seriously.
There are some people that have been so wicked that I believe personally inside that they forfeited their right to life. And of course, God is in charge of all life, but there are some people that are so wicked that I want, if I heard that they were going to be before a firing squad, I wouldn't rejoice,
Really, you wouldn't? It sounds like you would.
But I would say, Lord, thank you for removing them from the earth. What's it okay to feel like?
She's laughing at this.
I
Is
can
your-
tell you
is
right
your-
now, Steve, there's a lot of people who would rejoice.
Yeah.
I.e., I would rejoice. I.e., I would enjoy that. I want people put in front of firing squads. She's a QAnoner, of course. So she believes that there's a cabal of human trafficking, pedophiles, and she believes that that group was not run or at least heavily involved with Donald Trump. She thinks Trump is the savior that's going to fix everything. It's insane.
Really
Yeah.
is. I mean, they have.
Well, there was some scripture I'd seen once.
They've destroyed whole cities already.
Yeah, that's true.
They've destroyed whole cities already. Who is they? Are they in the room with us right now? She talking about the left?
Playing with my pen. I'm sorry.
I don't do demons. Yeah, her pin says I don't do demons. She thinks it's some kind of a protective talisman so a demon can't get her or some shit. It's just insane. Insane shit. This is one of the more fascinating videos, in my opinion, from Kat Kerr, because it kind of betrays her mindset. She's convinced herself that she does not sin, which is heretical, of course. That's doctrinally false. According to Christianity, everybody sins.
It isn't that hard to not sin. I live sin-free. You'd be surprised how many people want to argue about that.
Really? Yeah, obviously, because Jesus was the only sin-free individual. Isn't wrath sinful? Didn't she just display wrath for us? The wish that her enemies would die a brutal death in front of a firing squad? Isn't that literally what she just did? Is that not sinning? Or even more poignant, lying. She claims that God came and visited her in person in the middle of the night and assigned a 1,000 army or a 1,000 angel battalion to her command. Not that she just feels that this is true. She said God came there and told her that he was doing this personally. Tell me she does not lie. Is that not lying? Is that not a sin?
Well, why are you arguing? What's in your soul? Who cares about your wallet? What's in your soul? If you had what's right in your soul, your wallet would be full already, people.
I.e., if you were a good person, you'd be filthy fucking rich. Because God blesses people with money if they're good people. The poor are bad people by default, and she knows that because they're poor. If you are a godly person, you will be rich, and it is a direct measurement, a one-to-one comparison for how good you are. If you're a millionaire, you're a really good person. If you make $50,000 a year, you're not that good of a person. If you're impoverished and homeless, you're a bad person and shouldn't be trusted. That is genuinely 100%, seriously, her viewpoint on society.
What's right in your soul, your wallet would be full already, people.
So she doesn't sin, and she's rich, and that's evidence that God loves her. Fucking insane. I feel like this isn't a mental illness because you can't give somebody medicine to cure it. You know, there's no, fix for this kind of mindset aside from deprogramming, unbrainwashing. And it's like it's affecting so many people. It is infecting countless evangelicals, convinced that they are good people because God gave them money, and they should only give to their church, not the homeless or the poor, the working poor, because the working poor have proven themselves to be unloyal servants of God. Let's see. All right, one more clip. Give you an idea of who this person is. Why not?
There's also, of course,
Let me turn it up. Hold on.
there's the art barn where all the kids go, and
She's talking about what's in heaven. The art barn is in heaven. Because, you see, she's visited heaven physically. Not in spirit. She has physically been brought to heaven by God before. And she's describing what she saw when she went there on a visit, on a field trip with Jesus.
cows drive the tractors. This is heaven. Okay. They also have the flower concerts where the flowers all come together and sing, and they create these lines up into the sky of heaven, these gorgeous flowers singing. And so all of these are things that exist in heaven to give you a little glimpse of what's there. Of course, there's the roller coaster, the rush in heaven that goes through the sky, not on a track, under the crystal sea. Wow.
Yes, you heard her correctly. The Crystal Sea. She started naming locations in heaven. She's describing actual geographical landmarks. She believes that heaven is an actual literal planet. No joke. And that God sent a spaceship to pick her up or some shit.
You can breathe the water, or even a fish can fly in the sky. I'm not talking about flying fish. So no matter what you think of with the earth, there's no way your mind is considered some of these beautiful, amazing things that are in heaven.
Anyway, that's Kat Kerr. Now you know, and I apologize. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely insane. I have so many videos of her that are unglued from reality. All right. Just write these timestamps down. Kent Christmas. Awesome. All right. Let's hit Mike Lindell. Why not? Hang on. I'm sorry. Open. Okay, good. Here we go. Mike Lindell, Mike My Pillow Lindell, aka Mike Pillow, has been running for governor of Minnesota for a while, and he took some shots at some of these people. Like Tim Walz was convinced he was going to run against Tim Walz and started really laying into him. Well, guess who just dropped out of the race? Mike My Pillow Lindell dropped out of the race. Mike Lindell puts Minnesota first, steps down as My Pillow CEO to focus full-time on governor's race. My Pillow Inc. today announced that founder Mike Lindell has stepped down as chief executive officer and reduced it. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. No, he didn't drop out of the... This is my mistake. Mike Lindell has quit as My Pillow CEO. So is he Mike Pillow anymore? Can we call him Mike Pillow? Damn, I was mistaken. I thought he dropped out of the race. My Pillow Inc. today announced that founder Mike Lindell has stepped down as chief executive officer and reduced his ownership to a minority stake, allowing him to focus full-time on his campaign for governor of Minnesota. Lindell will remain a member of the board of directors and a shareholder in the company he founded in 2004. The transition places My Pillow's daily operations in the hands of a proven leadership team, Jim Furlong, who served as the company's president from 2004 to 2019 and helped build My Pillow from a Minnesota startup into a national brand, returns as chief executive officer. Minnesota comes first. This is the time to serve. You know, I find it fascinating that Lindell even seems to recognize that it looks better on him if he does not have a conflict of interest. But he doesn't apply that same standard to his God Emperor, Donald Trump. It's virtuous to give up your position and your stakes in companies and everything else? Suddenly? After 22 years of leading MyPillow, I know the company is ready for its next chapter, and I know Minnesota cannot wait, said Lindell. This decision is not about walking away. It's about stepping forward to serve. I'm putting Minnesota above myself, my title and my business interests, so I can give this campaign and the people of our state my full-time energy and attention. Lindell said the orderly transition reflects the same principles he would bring to public office. Of course, this is MyPillow's news release. Yes, MyPillow has a news release that they sent out to news stations all over the country. Real leadership means knowing when to lead, when to trust your team, and when to put a larger calling first. So anyway, like I said, Lindell is running for governor. It might be worth it to just talk about him, you know, his campaign and what he's up to and all that other stuff. So let's just listen to what he had to say here.
Minnesota was the tip of the spear for many things, and I believe we're also a Trojan horse for a lot of evil that's sitting here. And a lot of states can say, "Oh no, it's us. Oh no, it's us." Well, Minnesota, there's a lot of stuff that would take me a long time to tell everybody. There's a lot of bad things going on here, and I, you know, for myself, I thought about it. It's like I don't know who else. Number one, I don't know anyone else that can win. They've done polling, and I know what needs to be done here. I've lived here all my life.
They've done polling, and they found that Mike Lindell is the most likely person to be able to win the governorship, the gubernatorial race in Minnesota. I believe it. I believe it without question.
I know what the stuff I did when I came out of addiction, all the stuff we did downtown, helping out Teen Challenge, the Salvation Army, Union Gospel, all these people in the streets that I was helping down there and that we were doing, all that just was thrown out the window by this governor that we have now in this administration. And
anything valuable was thrown out the window? Any programs that were helpful to teen youths or whatever was thrown out the window, really? Democrats are the root of all evil, I suppose, huh? They destroy everything good. In all seriousness, sometimes I look at Republicans and think to myself, how is it possible that a political party can be wrong on every single issue? Literally every fucking issue. I am more than willing to vote for a Republican. Absolutely no question. I would do it. If there was a single fucking thing that any of them stood for that was good, one thing, I will take anything. They're consistently wrong on everything. Climate change, abortion, even little shit. Consistently evil. The Epstein files. The people, the Republican voters, were in favor of releasing the Epstein files at one point, and the politicians used it as like a bludgeon for a little while, for some bizarre reason. And within not that long, let me say it again. And it didn't take that long before suddenly they were anti-releasing the Epstein files. You notice not one Republican politician or voter talks about the Epstein files anymore. That's weird, huh? What happened? Their God Emperor Trump, Geodis, is in them. And they realized that, I suppose. Not one single thing that they stand for is good. How is that, like, that's statistically improbable. Anyway, keep listening here.
It's pretty, the nonsensical things, him running for vice president. I mean, now the whole country knows. It's like, you can't make this stuff up in your head. Like,
You literally can, because he did. Because Mike Lindell did make this stuff up in his head.
why would anybody want to do these things and hurt all people? And so
I don't even know what things he's referring to.
I'm very concerned, and I'm gonna make. I'll be letting people know real soon what I'm gonna do. There's just a few things, but I've already done one step, and that's I'm back in Minnesota. So the big news came out, the fake news came out and said, Mike can't run. He doesn't live in Minnesota anymore. Wrong. Here I'm back, and I'm here.
Anyway, Mike Lindell is still running for governor, still making an ass out of himself. Surprise, surprise. Listen to this one. This one, I believe, was his announcement video where he announced he's running for governor.
Many of you already know me. You know that I was a crack cocaine addict.
Yes, unfortunately, many of us do know him. Do you know that he was, like, he got famous, you probably know, as being the CEO of MyPillow, but his face is most recognizable because of the infomercials that he did with this giant fucking cross hanging from his neck, his disgusting hairy fucking chest, like a sleaze bag. You know what I'm talking about? That type of person is wild, dude. It's wild that politics has fallen so far that this is where we are today. He doesn't have a chance of winning. I just should put that out there up front. In fact, I'm going to move this to the front of the video so everybody is aware. He is almost guaranteed to lose. It would have to be like some kind of a ridiculous freak accident for him to win the Minnesota governorship. He's just making an ass out of himself, as usual. And it's even worse for him now because he lost the Republican primary, which means... Sorry, there's a clock dinging in the background. Give it a second. Hang on. There it is. Which means when the election happens, Lindell is not going to be running against a Democrat. He's going to be running against a Republican and a Democrat and splitting the Republican vote. So, you know, if the race were going to be close, say 45 to Republicans, 55 to Democrats, that's reasonably close, I suppose, right? Mike Lindell is going to be in there, in the counting, and he's going to peel off, 10%, 20% of the votes from Republicans. He is making things worse for the Republicans in Minnesota and making it even less likely that they're going to win. Almost a guarantee they're going to lose. It's a virtual guarantee they were going to lose before Mike Lindell split the vote. So don't feel down by this. I generally view this as hilarious, honestly. Like, very, very comical that he is once again ruining his own life in an attempt to ruin other people's lives. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. He's just like a vile scumbag, honestly. All right. Let's look through some of these comments here. Bro, you had to fire everyone and sell all your pillow machines back in 2020 when you lost everything while attempting to help Trump steal the election. I remember how you went on a 2-year cry fest, TM, just to end up even more pathetic and broke. Crack is whack. Amen. That's good. Yeah, absolutely. He did do that shit. He went on a ridiculous cry fest, and he did have to sell his pillow shit. I remember it started appearing on eBay. Industrial pillow shit. TM. That was what was on the listing. Industrial pillow shit. And his pillow trucks. Yeah. Where is he getting all this money to waste? Well, as it turns out, pillow sales are fucking lucrative. I didn't realize this before, but oh my God, you make a lot of money. I'm in the wrong industry. I should be selling pillows. Everybody needs a pillow, right? Anyway. So Lindell got a lot of money from pillow sales, I guess, which is literally just like cut up pieces of foam stuck in a sack. That's his pillow. That is the My Pillow. And he burned through millions and millions and millions of dollars on lawsuits filed against him for intentionally attempting to deceive the public and commit libel and slander against companies who did not do what he said they did. Just a vile piece of shit. Minnesota Tax Department to be replaced by 24-hour infomercial call center, right? Oh, this one is good. I remember that. I have this video.
That's not what they call.
Ow, my ears. I apologize, guys. Let me turn that shit down. Yeah, I remember this. You remember this? This deposition that he went to?
The lumpy pillow calls.
No, they're not lumpy pillows. That's not what they call on. Okay? When you say lumpy pillows, now you're an asshole. You got that? You're an asshole, is what you are. No, he's an asshole.
No,
he's an
not.
ambulance chasing asshole. That's what you are. The lumpy pillows, kiss my ass. Put that in your book. No, they answer anything.
Dude, I completely forgot about this shit. This is top tier shit, dude. Oh my God. I have this on my soundboard, don't I? Wait.
Fucking thing sucks.
No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
No, wrong one. Sorry, it's this one.
Now you're an asshole. You got that? You're an asshole, is what you are. No, he's an asshole.
No,
he's an ambulance chasing asshole. That's what you are. The lumpy pillows, kiss my ass. Put that in your book.
Oh, I love it so much, dude. Oh my God. I just eat this shit for I just eat this shit for breakfast. It's awesome. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Really good shit. I love watching scumbags fall flat on their face. It's one of my pastimes, my hobbies. And I bring the hobby to you. All right. So we finished Lindell. I should actually be writing down timestamps, shouldn't I? I've just been writing down the... Yeah, hang on. 1 second here. Kerr, Lindell. And who at Christmas? And that was at 18 minutes, and then 18 to 33, and 33 to 47, I believe. Good. All right. So we finished Kent Christmas as well. We finished Cat Kerr. Let's watch, let's talk about James Taylor real fast. I'm sorry, hold on. Here we go. Okay. And I actually have to turn on my text-to-speech server for this because I want to listen to this article real fast. And it takes about 30 seconds for the TTS server to come up and about another 30 to 45 seconds to render the first sentence. And once the first sentence is rendered, then it works. And it's pretty fucking good, in my opinion. TTS is really, really good, in one man's humble opinion. So give it a second. The server is coming up. Toggle controls on this page. Give it a second. Give it one more second. It's still loading. And
As regular readers know by now...
There it is. Okay, good. All right. There's this Oklahoma political candidate, I think for school boards. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see in a second. Name is James Taylor, who said furry children were demanding litter box be placed in classrooms. This is an age-old piece of propaganda that was debunked so long ago. But somehow it keeps getting repeated. I don't understand. Let's listen to this article. This is by Hemant Mehta on the Friendly Atheist website. Oklahoma candidate James Taylor has turned his classroom into a Christian campaign studio.
As regular readers know by now, Oklahoma has had trouble when it comes to who oversees public education in the state. For years, the superintendent of public instruction was Ryan Walters, a Christian nationalist who did everything in his power to suck up to Donald Trump, shove the Bible in schools, and make it more embarrassing to say you graduated from an Oklahoma high school.
Yeah, Ryan Walters actually quit as superintendent and went to work for some nonprofit extremist organization. I forget what, Family Research Council maybe? Some other right-wing nutcase organization. Thank fucking shit he is out of there, dude, really.
But then, last September, Walters suddenly resigned, and he was replaced by Lindell, a Republican who basically promised to get things back in order. To that end, he's been as professional as you would hope, undoing many of Walters' initiatives and focusing on education.
My understanding is I think this Republican who's now in there has actually done a pretty decent job of fixing things. Oklahoma was already ranked, I think, number 50 in the entire United States, all 50 states. It was dead last, if I remember correctly. I mean, my God. And Ryan Walters is making it worse by banning teachers in history classes from discussing or from making the factual point that the Tulsa race massacre was based on race. You couldn't say that the people who were being massacred were black and that the people doing the massacring were white, even though that is exactly what happened. That's the type of shit that Ryan Walters did.
I don't say this about Republicans very often, but the state would be lucky to have him for another term. Alas, he always said he was just stepping in temporarily, and that means voters will soon choose the next superintendent of public instruction. While there's already a Democrat on the ballot, Jennedy Marshall, the Republican field was so crowded that no one came away with a 50% share in the primary, which means there will be a runoff later this month. One of the candidates who made the runoff is James Taylor, and there's a reason he's been called Ryan Walters 2.0. His bio boasts about how he's a history and government teacher, as well as a senior pastor. He has no administrative experience in public schools, but he claims he's qualified anyway because he's run a church.
Wow, that makes you super qualified to do literally anything, right? Government positions, management, anything at all. If you were the pastor of a fucking church, congratulations. This guy's super qualified, we can tell.
He used to teach in the Oklahoma City public schools, but he was fired in 2021 after refusing to wear a mask because he wanted to spread a disease more than he wanted to protect everyone's health.
They're fucking children, dude. Come on. They are children. You can't wear a mask even if it does nothing. Even if it provided no protection. You couldn't wear a mask to a school, really. It feels like it's such a small ask with zero risk attached to it. And he was unwilling to do the most basic shit.
He's currently embroiled in a lawsuit about the matter. He now teaches at the Little Axe Public Schools. More on that in a moment.
He teaches at the Little Axe Public Schools. What a name for a school.
His campaign has been a hot mess so far. This is a guy who said he enjoys teaching history because, and I quote, The early U.S. history is the birth of our country, which is our country's Judeo-Christian heritage.
Okay. No, that was not TTS messing up. The early U.S. history is the early birth of our country, which is our country's Judeo-Christian heritage. What the fuck does that even mean?
During an interview with KFRA's Spencer Humphrey, Taylor was asked about a hoax he spread about kids being furries and there being litter boxes in classrooms. His responses weren't ideal.
Yeah, let's listen to it. I have it pulled up here.
I think it was at a Republican forum recently. He said, I still can't believe this is true in our great state, that there are furries on campuses where they've got litter boxes for kids to use on campus.
Yeah.
That's a mental illness. My first question
That's literally not true. That was never true.
is, what's a furry?
Well, that's funny.
That's funny?
Furry is a person who thinks that they're an animal, as far as I can understand. I
No.
was up in the Tulsa area.
No. It's a person who wants to dress up and have a good time. They want to dress up and go to conventions and shit. It's not somebody who thinks that they're an animal or that they have an animal spirit or whatever. You're thinking otherkin or whatever the fuck word you use for it. And it's exceedingly, extremely uncommon. And I'm sorry, I know that there are apparently some people out there like this, but I don't buy it. I don't think that you can have the spirit of an animal. I just don't. Furries are just people who want to have fun, okay? They're just having a good time. They're just dressing up and hanging out with friends, and that's the end of it.
And two people asked me, what are you going to do about the furries? And that's when I said, I can't believe that in our great state that this would be going on.
It's not. It is literally not.
So which specific school is it?
I don't know. They didn't give me. I asked that where, and they didn't give me. So I don't know.
I mean, you know, that's a widely debunked hoax that isn't happening, right?
That's what I'm aware of. That's why I just simply said I can't believe this would be going on in our state.
I can't believe it. Well, it's not. But he's continued to spread it. Are you kidding me? Are you the dumbest motherfucker alive, or are you a slimy liar? I feel like it has to be one of those two, right?
Real simple. I don't believe it's going on. That's what they're saying. Oh, I'm pushing it. What is happening is they're afraid I'm going to win.
Totally. Afraid you're going to win.
And so they have to create fear.
Is spreading known hoax like that, is that a fear tactic?
I didn't spread a hoax. They're spreading a hoax. I answered a question.
So anyway, point is he's a lying scumbag as far as I can tell. Just genuinely fucking disgusting. I'm not at fault. You're at fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault. Genius.
It got worse. Elsewhere in the interview, Taylor defended the Bible in school because we're not teaching Buddha history or Islamic history or any of those type of things. This is America, and so our law, the way our nation came into existence, all came from Judeo-Christian principles. None of that is true. Finally,
I'm sorry, we're not teaching... We're not teaching Buddha history or Islamic history or any of those type of things. This is America. What an absolutely psychotic thing to say.
He brought up the fact that Taylor's campaign communications director was Lane Brown, a former staffer of Ryan Walters, best known for using slurs like "ah" and "th" to go after
the R slur and the F slur.
After his enemies, calling for the deportation of all Muslims, and calling non-Christians third world parasites. Brown was in the room for the interview and immediately shut it down.
Do you know why it's gaining popularity to claim that people that are not from the United States are parasites from shithole countries, because Trump spread that idea because he believes in what he calls racehorse theory, which is an old 1940s, 1950s way of saying eugenics. When eugenics became very, very unpopular as, you know, one of the causes of World War II, the eugenicists had to use a different term for it. And the term they settled on was racehorse theory, which Trump talks about all the time.
Bring that line of questioning because, like all right-wing trolls, he can't handle being called out for being a jackass. Taylor has since said that Brown no longer works for him. But none of that even compares to the most egregious thing Taylor has done so far. And this time, he can't blame anyone but himself. He filmed campaign ads inside his own classrooms and let them go up on social media until the school district demanded he pull them all down.
That is illegal, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Little Axe Superintendent Jay Thomas published a statement calling out how Taylor didn't ask for or receive permission to record those ads. Earlier today, we were alerted that an employee of Little Axe Public School who was...
Okay, so this is a quote from the... This is like their public statement, the school's public statement. Right?
Republican...
Oh, my God.
Earlier today, we were alerted that an employee of Little Axe Public School who was running for state office had made multiple campaign ads using school resources, including a school classroom. Let us be clear, the employee acted without the knowledge or permission of district administration. The actions are an improper use of school resources and may be a violation of campaign ethics rules. After repeated requests to remove the posts from his social media platforms and his failure to do so, it is necessary to explain that Little Axe Public School does not endorse any candidate for any office, nor does Little Axe Public School District endorse the use of district property in this way. According to the Oklahoma State School Boards Association, employees who are candidates may not use district resources related to their campaign, nor may they promote their candidacy on district time.
This is one of the biggest problems that I've seen in the Republican Party, or a very big problem at a bare minimum. They don't give a fuck about the rules. They break them and completely ignore it. And if they get in trouble for it, which they almost never do, okay, fine. They get in trouble for it. They'll pay lawyers to get them out of it. It's like, until we start getting some real repercussions for their bad behavior, this is going to keep happening. And, you know, I have an expertise in Germany in the 1930s, specifically in the Kirchenkampf, the church struggle, Hitler's attempted takeover of the German church in the 1930s. I've written multiple books about it. I know a lot about it. And I also know a lot about denazification. Not as much as I do about the Kirchenkampf, but a lot. And I'll tell you what happened after World War II, after everything came crashing down for the scumbags in Germany. There were serious repercussions for all of them. They categorized people into 5 groups. Now, this is called transitional justice nowadays, not denazification. Denazification was the early form of it. And so it works a little bit differently today. I guess I'll tell you how I expect it to work today. I expect people who helped Donald Trump come to power and lied for him and broke rules and twisted laws and all that. I expect them to basically go to prison as enablers. The term for that group of people was arch criminals. The one under that were the bureaucrats, and they would go to prison sometimes for 5 years. And then there are the informants, the people on the bottom rung who supported and helped otherwise, and they would be named and shamed publicly. Basically, I expect that kind of thing to happen. That level of denazification step to take place. Honestly, I do. After everything that Trump has done, after all the violations, after all of the law breakings, I believe Epstein files will be released. It won't be under Trump, I don't think, but it will happen. And I believe every one of them are going to pay the price. Give me just a second, okay? Hang on. Let me just pull something up real fast. I got to go grab something. I'm going to turn on this John Fetterman and Jon Stewart thing for just a second. I'll be right back.
They've jailed citizens. They've taken immigration, which was generally a civil concern, and made it a criminal concern. They want to build giant warehouses where they just bring people that are there on civil violations, or what used to be civil violations. So if they can't use things like a threat of a shutdown, where would you suggest they use their lack of power?
Well, I work with the new Secretary Mullen, and now all of those warehouses in Pennsylvania were canceled. I mean, that's a fact. And shut the government down on that. There wasn't one single ICE reforms or anything. Like, you can want reforms and you can engage in those dialogue, but shutting the government down when that has zero impact on the way Homeland Security is going to operate, because they were funded through the big, beautiful bill. The thing that I did not vote for that as well, too. They had unlimited money. So for me, it was a decision. Said, should I just vote to shut our government down, even though every single Democrat in my caucus knew that it would have no direct or even indirect leverage over ICE to behave the way that we all want them to do? So do that. That's a demand from an agitated, angry base. And I'm willing to say, look, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong solution for a reasonable conversation to have with people saying we want to make those kind of changes for ICE.
So what is the way to make those changes? Because my understanding of the shutdown was they were saying we will shut it down unless you make those changes, not that somehow that those changes would be made because it wasn't funded. I understand that that's what you're saying, but that was the threat.
Yeah, and there was no forced any kinds of things. So we, the Democratic caucus there walked away with empty pockets about shutting our government down on both sides. So it's a reasonable kinds of concerns, but it's the wrong tool or the solution in order to achieve it. Win elections, and then that puts you in the better position to make those kind of changes.
Ground news, that's what I'm talking about. Because these guys, they're not, listen, you know me, I'm not a big fan of the news outlets. Those bastards. That's right. Can I say that on this? Bastards. But Ground News is a website and an app, because this is America in the 2020s. You got to have an app, and it helps you better understand the news you consume. They got a blind spot feed, helps you find stories that aren't being covered by your side. It is instructional in a way. You begin to see the Matrix, not the Matrix 3 or even 2, the Matrix, the actual Matrix, the one with Neo, the real, not the, you know what I'm talking about. You can see who owns every news outlet, and you compare how these different outlets frame their stories. Like Bezos might frame it differently. No, I was just a name that popped into my head. No reason why. To get the same unlimited access to the Vantage subscription, go to groundnews.com/Stewart and subscribe to get 40% off. I've partnered with Ground News to get you the discount that is available only for a limited time. That's groundnews.com/Stewart, or scan the QR code on screen. Thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this episode.
And now you have my party, they're returning back to the worst impulses. Abolish ICE, abolish the border, and say these kinds of extreme things.
You're saying the Democratic Party is returning to abolish ICE and abolish borders?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that are winning, like, when we're filming this, right. In Michigan, the person that's going to win is calling to abolish ICE. And then the governor race in Wisconsin, she even said abolish prisons as well too.
But she said that she had said that previously, and she's walked that back in the same way that a lot of people in the
Well, I
heat of the
mean,
George Floyd moment said defund the police, and then ultimately said, you know what, that was an emotional response, and I think that was the wrong policy. But aren't you elevating what seems to be I mean, how many people have, like, three DSA or 5? It seems like the Democratic Party is largely still just the Democratic Party, and there are some people that associate with either the DSA or social democracies that are gaining a foothold. But I don't imagine how many. What are we talking about? 3 or 4?
Well, it's actually many more. There's one in Colorado. There's many in New York. And now I just seen the recent poll. Over a third of Democrats identify themselves as socialists or
Or have
in that
sympathies
kind of way.
towards.
So it is a significant
Right.
issue. You know, we got wrecked in 24 because a lot of the extreme things that we were saying in 2020 now came back to haunt us, and that's why we found ourselves here in the minority. And I'm saying, hey, we can't go back to the same extreme views because we have to win actual battleground states. It's not echo chambers in Brooklyn or now. And here you see the people with these extreme views are breaking through in Michigan and in Wisconsin and places like in Colorado and there. So I'm saying let's resist these extreme kinds of views to abolish everything. And now the DSA is an emerging factor here now. I'm not elevating him. I'm just describing what I'm witnessing that's coming as a regular Democrat. And now that's the reality. And I expect El Sayed will win by double digits.
So let me see if I can frame this in a slightly different way. Why do you think it is that there is a kind of momentum behind these more, as you would call them, extremists, or I would say, they're a mix. There's a certain nuance to it. But don't you think that that's happening for...
Okay, sorry. There's a baby emergency I was dealing with. Back to what we were doing. I didn't finish this, right? No, we haven't finished this. Let's continue where we left off.
All sharing of information regarding the election. Candidacy must occur off school district premises and during personal time, unless the district is holding a candidate forum for a particular race.
Yeah, these people ignore the rules. They don't give a fuck about this.
We will continue to use all appropriate measures to see that the offending ads and posts are taken down.
That's weird. It inserted the word child there. We will continue to use all appropriate measures to see that the offending ads and posts are taken down.
Taylor himself responded to that statement by simply acknowledging he had removed the videos. Today, Little Axe Public Schools released a statement regarding campaign content that included footage from my classroom. Taylor said, "I want to set the record straight. On August 1...
One of the most disturbing things about this is that there are teachers out there like this guy. There are really teachers out there who are like completely ignoring the rules, teaching children that the only morality that exists is the morality that can be enforced, that kind of thing.
Forum recently.
Sorry.
On August 1, after viewing an email from my superintendent raising concerns about the content, I instructed my campaign team to remove the video from our social media platforms. They complied with that request, and the content was taken down. Unfortunately, by the time it was removed, Little Axe Public Schools had already issued its public statement. At no point...
Well, maybe don't fucking break rules like that in the first place, and you won't have to deal with this. It's like he's blaming them for jumping the gun or something. Your dumbass is the one that broke the rule in the first place.
Was there any intent to misuse school resources?
Sorry, step back here.
At no point was there any intent to misuse school resources or distract from the important work being done in our classrooms. As both an educator and a candidate for state superintendent, I take full responsibility for the content that was posted. and at no point did Little Axe Public Schools have anything to do with my filming in the school. I would like to reiterate that this issue has been resolved. Taylor said, "The reason I am in this race is for the future of the children of Oklahoma."
Totally, yeah. The children. You care about the children. That's your main goal, right? Won't somebody please think of the children?
They deserve a quality education, and that's why we're bringing real reform and accountability to Oklahoma schools to serve Oklahoma families. At no point did he apologize or even acknowledge why filming campaign videos inside his classroom might be inappropriate. For a guy who wants to run public education throughout the state, his blind spots are everywhere, and the stuff he can see is littered with biblical garbage.
So that was Hemant Mehta speaking. All the stuff he is pushing is littered with biblical garbage, and this is what he pushed right here. No, I'm sorry. No, that's not what he pushed. Anyway, we're listening to Hemant Mehta now.
These weren't just campaign ads either. One of them also involved a rant against Dr. Anthony Fauci, which makes sense coming from a COVID denier who refused to wear masks. For a man who's...
Like, seriously, how psychotic is it that there are people out there who were denying that COVID was real at all, that they were literally setting out to, like, infect other people, refusing to do the most basic stuff, like hold your church services online, or space the chairs out 6 feet, or hold them outside during a literal worldwide pandemic. How insane... just think about what a wild time that was for a moment. The videos that we got from it alone were insane. I should cover some of those. In fact, we're going to. We're going to talk about those videos sometime this week. Keep a lookout for it.
He's run multiple failed campaigns for Congress. It's incredible he doesn't know the basic rules of filming campaign ads. And if his pitch to voters is that he'll surround himself with people who are smarter than him in areas where he's deficient, he's already proving he's incapable of doing that. In the days following that incident, American Atheists says they were told by...
Hey, holla! Yeah, my wife works for American Atheists. Great organization, in one man's humble opinion.
In the days following that incident, American Atheists says they were told by a concerned parent that Taylor is still flogging his campaign material in his classroom, as well as promoting his religious and political beliefs.
Holy shit, dude. Taylor is still pushing his stupid campaign garbage in the classroom. Are you kidding me right now? This is what I'm talking about. There are no consequences for these people. There will be. Trust me. There will be consequences for all of the Trump nutcases out there who did shit like this. I've seen how these situations play out. Let me just put it this way. Have we crossed a line societally as a country? Has a line been crossed from 2024 to 2025? I would argue that yes, a line has been crossed. The world is not, this isn't like Trump's first term. This is not how it was before. There was a literal insurrection in 2021. That was bad. But what we're experiencing right now, whole new level. ICE literally murdering people in the streets. Trump completely ignoring the court orders that he's been issued. Ignoring laws, legal requirements like releasing the Epstein files. We're in a new world, a new environment now that we were not in 2024. Hang on, I'm sorry. Please, Miki, go. It's starting to get a little frustrating. She keeps jumping up here. History shows when those lines are crossed, there are repercussions. It didn't happen in Germany immediately, like in the 30s, because it was all very gradual up until the moment that it wasn't. You know, it was like a frog in boiling water. The Germans were already predisposed to hating Jews to start with. And by 1933, it moved very similarly to how 2025 moved, where Hitler took over and passed the Enabling Act, which basically gave him dictatorial powers where he could not be prosecuted for any of his crimes, and he kind of ruled by decree through executive orders, effectively. That's how it worked. And it was eerie how similar 2025 was when Trump was inaugurated to 1933. Truly eerie. We crossed a threshold in the United States that they crossed in Germany in 1933. And you don't cross that threshold without consequences on the other side. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to see serious consequences for all of Trump's little nutcases after Republicans lose power. Whether that's in 2026, 28, or whatever. Whenever Trump leaves office, every last one of them is fucked. Mark my words. Call it a prophecy from God if you want. All right, let's keep listening here.
The school year has already started in the district, so this is happening now. The group just wrote a letter to the school district urging the follow-up. According to the parent, Dr. Taylor keeps one of his books. It's biblical, not political. How to line candidates up biblically, as well as a DVD he produced, Critical Race Theory versus the Bible, prominently displayed in his classroom.
Really? Let me see if I can find this. Where the fuck did it go? Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find this video from this guy. Here it is.
I am honored to be here. It's a great privilege to be. We praise you. We ask for Republicans of Patrice Cullors talking.
I'm grabbing this video, and we may watch that later. It sounds absolutely psychotic.
Given the expressly sectarian nature of these materials, the parent is deeply concerned that Dr. Taylor will incorporate them or other religious materials into his lesson plans. American Atheists shares her concerns.
I would be surprised if that's not what's happening.
The letter also notes that Taylor included a reference to the Beatitudes and a handout accompanying the course syllabus on the first day of class.
He included a reference to the Beatitudes in the syllabus handout. Are you kidding me? This is what I'm talking about. No consequences for these people up to this point. There absolutely will be. But they feel invincible right now. They feel like they can do anything because they have not faced any consequences.
That book of his, by the way, features a Bible next to bullets, in case you want to know how broken his brain is.
Jesus Christ, dude. Dr. James Taylor, it's biblical, not political. A Bible next to bullets.
The group is now citing school board policy and the Supreme Court's decision in Mahmoud v. Taylor to get copies of all of Taylor's lesson plans and course materials that involve religion in order to determine whether any such lessons are likely to conflict with a family's non-religious beliefs and should seek to withdraw her child from any individual lessons taught by Dr. Taylor.
That's interesting.
For a man who constantly talks about the Constitution, he doesn't seem to know the first thing about it. Nick Fish.
This is a quote, I believe, from American Atheists, possibly. Again, my wife is... let me rephrase. Again, my wife works at American Atheists. She has a law degree, and she's in their legal department. I don't think she doesn't do litigation for them. That's somebody else, but she does policy, legal policy, drafting bills, finding sponsors, writing official responses, that kind of thing. So Nick Fish is the president of American Atheists. He's pretty legit. Too legit to quit, some might say, namely MC Hammer. I bet MC Hammer would say that about Nick Fish. Too legit to quit. All right, let's see what he said here.
He said, I still can't believe...
Nick Fish, president of American Atheists, added, "This is unfortunately only the latest example of a troubling trend we're seeing across the country of culture warriors claiming they're fighting secular indoctrination in public schools while demanding that their own sectarian worldview get special treatment. But church-state separation has never been about excluding religion from public life. It's about protecting religious freedom for all by ensuring public institutions don't favor one faith over another."
Right. It's like people are constant. I mean, these Christian nationalists are constantly portraying themselves as victims of big atheists trying to prevent them from exercising their religious beliefs. It's delusion. No, it's worse than delusion. It's lies. They know they're lying. They're doing it intentionally. You cannot convince me that they actually believe that their religious practice is being stifled. No one's coming into their church and telling them to stop practicing their religion. Okay, I'm saying I go to this school too. My kid goes to this school too, and I don't want my kid, nor does she want to hear all this ridiculous nonsense about Jesus dying for your sins and shit. Take that to church.
It's how we defend the civil rights of every American, no matter your belief or lack thereof. This may highlight the biggest problem with Taylor's candidacy. His misuse of the public school classroom wasn't some accidental campaign mistake. It's a preview of how he would govern. He clearly believes taxpayer-funded spaces are a backdrop for his personal beliefs, no matter how absurd they are. Oklahoma has just endured one superintendent who treated public education as a platform for self-promotion, culture war battles, and Christian nationalist grandstanding. Teachers, students, and parents all paid the price for Ryan Walters' arrogance. And now Taylor wants to bring it all back. The same biblical revisionism, the same debunked culture war garbage, the same contempt for church-state separation, and even some of the same disgraced staffers. Oklahoma doesn't need Ryan Walters 2.0 because Ryan Walters 1.0 was damning enough. And nothing Taylor has done suggests he can be trusted to put children ahead of himself. He refused to wear face masks, endangering the people around him. He promoted a hoax without bothering to verify it, only to distance himself when pressed for details. He hired a Walters lackey whose only skill is hurling slurs at people online. And he's apparently used his classroom to advance his campaign and personal religious beliefs. His entire professional career is about putting kids last, because his own ideology and ego must come first. Oklahoma deserves so much better than this.
These people are fucking vile, dude. Genuinely.
If voters there have enjoyed the non-Walters respite of the past year, there's a simple way to keep it going. Vote for anyone but Taylor. And if they're smart, they will elect the Democrat, but my hopes aren't that high. Students there deserve a superintendent who cares more about improving education than generating outrage and winning converts. Taylor has already shown Oklahoma where his priorities lie. Voters should believe him before they make the mistake of handing him power. Please share this.
Yeah, the Republican runoff takes place on August 25th. People are vile, dude. Absolutely vile. Absolutely insane. A lot of the Trump nutcases are extremely unlikely to win, but it's still disgusting to see what kind of insane candidates the Republican Party is putting up right now. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. All right, I'm actually going to go use the bathroom real fast. Going to take me 30 seconds. I'm going to pull this up again, and I will be right back, okay?
Is you didn't think he was very nice to women. You're ignoring an awful lot of evidence for the current president about his relationship with women. So my point is, there seems like there's a way to go about this that embraces, as you said, the 90% of things that you agree with and try and utilize that energy to reform a party that has a worse public image than herpes in terms of getting things done. this feels like it's playing into the hands of Republican caricatures.
Why can't people on the Democratic side finally figure out why Trump was so competitive and winning 2 out of the 3 last cycles? Why is he still here? Why are we still doing it? Because we keep losing, and now we keep returning back to some of the extreme thing. That's not a caricature. That is a fair assessment of where we are with these kind of things.
But we didn't. Kamala Harris was not a progressive left candidate. She was not a Tim Wall. Like I guess everybody said Donald Trump couldn't win.
Yeah, I campaigned all across it that, and now all those signature kinds of Trump things, big beautiful bill. I did not vote for that. And Save Act, I said will not vote for that. And some of these big signature ones. And when we vote for Blanche in this week when we're filmed, I won't for him either.
Right.
So what really matters is the votes and what's behind.
You guys want to see something really cool that I'm pretty proud of? Okay, I got this system, this thing. It's called a VLM, okay? And a VLM is basically like, it's a 3B, so it's very tiny. Takes up like 2 gigs on my hard drive or something like that. And it's basically a local AI model that runs on my computer and my computer only. It doesn't go anywhere else. Doesn't go to a data center. Doesn't use a ton of water. Doesn't use a ton of electricity. It's just a local 2 gigabyte AI model or so. Maybe this one is a little bit bigger. It's like 5 gigs. And all it does, all it knows is looking at PDF pages and converting it to text. Look at a PDF, convert to text. That's it. That's all it knows. That's its whole life is that. So I basically, I have this old PDF that I scanned forever ago. It's a book called Nuremberg, Infamy on Trial. It's from 1994, and it's an old World War II book that I don't think this one is particularly hard to get, but it's very old. It's like 30 years old or something. Anyway, so I scanned this in page by page, like years ago. And I have this PDF. Doesn't have any embedded text, doesn't have anything like that. It's just a plain image of the text. And I send it through this VLM, and it structures the text. Let me show you what it looks like on the other side. I sent it through the VLM, and this is what it came up with. Hold on. Bookforge is pulling it up right now. Trying to, anyway. Okay, so I've already gone through and I struck a bunch of things from the book. I don't need like the cover photo. I don't need the barcodes or whatever other thing. But once you get down to chapter 1, or the introduction, I guess is the first one, that's fucking really high quality, right? It converted this fully from a PDF with no hidden text layer or anything, just an image of a page, converted it to this introduction. After a hiatus of nearly half a century, Nuremberg is again on people's lips, so on and so forth. That's really, really high quality, right? I am super impressed with this. Every now and then you get this single blank unit because it was a blank page and it couldn't read anything on it. So instead of giving you nothing back, it shows you the actual blank page, the empty page. But anyway, I struck a bunch of other stuff that was unnecessary, the footnotes and stuff like that. 16, 17, it's got it's got section headers, it's got body text. I'm really impressed with this. Really, really impressed. The footnotes at the end and everything. So basically, I've built out this entire pipeline that makes it possible to convert PDFs to EPUBs pretty much flawlessly. I think that's really, really impressive. And once I have the EPUB all organized and arranged and ready to go, I can send it through my text-to-speech system, which is also a little tiny model that sits on my computer and doesn't go to a data center or anything. It does it from my computer. Doesn't use water, doesn't use extra electricity. It's just the electricity I'm using at home. Let me just find one example of the... I mean, we just listened to the audio. That was my little tiny local model that I was using. Here you go. Yeah, we've been listening to this book on my podcast or whatever, and this is the AI model.
Chapter 8, State of Confusion. SOO consider Franklin D. Roosevelt.
It couldn't read that word some because it was split up because of a drop cap. I actually fixed that, but didn't re-render it.
FDR, as one of the most liberal-leaning presidents in our history. Liberals liked him because of his creation of the administrative state. The administrative state is a term used to describe the phenomenon of executive branch administrative agencies exercising the power to create, adjudicate, and enforce their own rules.
That's fucking good, in one man's humble opinion. I also text-to-speech to this book, Heinrich Himmler, A Life.
Home again. Had tea. The following day, 5 days after the assassination, he confided secretively to his diary. The identity of Rathenau's murderers is known. The C Organization. Awful if it all comes out. The Consul Organization, which carried out paramilitary activities from its Munich base with the support of the Bavarian government, belonged to the same milieu in which Himmler now felt relatively confident through his membership of the Freiweg Rifle Club and his acquaintanceship with Ernst Röhm, the central figure in these circles, and other officers.
That's fucking good, right? You can't even tell that's TTS. I can't even describe to you how much time and effort it took me to get it to that point, though, to be that good. There's so much troubleshooting,
Conservatives.
So many issues, so much sifting through data to try to figure out how to get it to run correctly. And now I can text-to-speech books at 15 or 20 times real time. So a book that's 10 hours long, just a normal 10-hour book, will only take me 40 minutes to run through text-to-speech. And I'm actually doing the Nuremberg Infamy on Trial book right now, 500 pages, or 600 maybe. And that's going to take me about a total of 60 minutes, an hour, to text-to-speech with that quality. I think it's really good. I'm just really impressed. All right. Sorry. Just got a little sidetracked there for a minute because I was really happy with that. Let's see here. Dr. James Taylor, BLM, Antifa, and CRT are rooted in Marxism infiltrating the church. Oh my God, dude. What an insane thing to say. What is this called? Critical Race Theory and the Bible. Race Theory and the Bible. Let's open this and see if there's anything of interest here. Wow. Okay. Yes, there are a lot of really psychotic things he said here.
Why are you being political? Okay? God spoke about all these issues long ago. So this is in there. There's
we might have to watch this on Unfiltered. Maybe we'll do that on Tuesday. That seems interesting. Clear that. Let's hit Jack Hibbs. Okay, good. Finished. We'll keep that open. All right. This is Jack Hibbs. He is a televangelist, a pastor. It's actually the pastor of Chino Hills Church, I think, in California. And he's like this anti-woke, anti-CRT, anti-BLM, whatever kind of pastor. Listen to what he said here.
How do crazy people who should live in other countries, because the other countries is exactly what they want to be in.
I mean, he's talking about anyone to the left of hunting the homeless for sport, which is me. I don't want to hunt homeless for sport. So I guess we all fall in that category, right?
Why are they doing it here? Why don't they go find some other country that's socialistic and communistic and atheistic?
Because I fucking live in the United States, first of all. Second, I don't want to live in a communist country. Okay, I'm on the left, which means I don't like ICE, and I don't like that they're fucking killing people in the streets. I don't like the extremism of the Trump administration. I don't like how corrupt it is, how it's ignoring laws. I don't like the fact that Donald Trump, pretty plainly, as far as I can tell, took advantage of children and just got away with that shit. Not a fan of that. Does that make me a communist? Am I a communist because I don't like the fact that Trump took advantage of children, as far as I can tell? And I don't like the fact that you're defending him despite that? That makes me a communist? Okay, call me a communist. Call me a communist. I don't like pedophiles.
Socialistic and communistic and atheistic. Why are they doing that here? Because that's their mission. They're missionaries. They are political missionaries for their God, which is their democracy.
My God is democracy? My God is democracy. And I'm a missionary for my God. Democracy. Okay.
Their group to lead the masses. Democracy. A group will control the rest. Instead of the group, or instead of the masses sending the handful to represent the will of the people, they turn that over.
That's called representative democracy, dipshit. You're still talking about a democracy. It's like, hang on, wait for the clock to stop chiming. Give it a second. It's going. It's almost done. Almost there. Wow. 6, 7 chimes now, I think. 8, 9, 10. That's not right. 11? Oh, wow. Okay, it went past 9. Anyway.
The handful to represent the will of the people, they turn that over, and it's exactly how Marx, Stalin, Lenin, Mao, Pol Pot,
did you forget other supposed communist names? No, none of that shit is real. Okay, Stalin, Mao, they were not in favor of democracy. What the fuck are you smoking? They were authoritarians. Well, specifically, Stalin was an authoritarian. He didn't want democracy. This guy's literally, actually calling for aristocracy. He wants the most powerful and rich people in the world to control the government. That's what he has said. And that is better than democracy in his mind, I suppose, huh?
Zoran Mamdani?
Zoran Mamdani is like Stalin.
That's exactly how they came to power.
No.
A little step at a time.
Oh, is that the end of the video? Okay. Jesus Christ, dude, he's insane. That's not even the most insane video from him. I have like a whole list of videos from this nutcase. Listen to this.
Neither is it your First Amendment to say that you're using the First Amendment to speak your opinion when you're not even an American.
Yep, it is actually your right, your First Amendment right, to speak your mind, and it doesn't fucking matter if you're a citizen. It covers anybody within the jurisdiction of the United States. Citizen or non-citizen or whatever.
You said, Pastor, I was born and raised here. I get to. No, you missed it completely. Just because you were born here doesn't mean you're an American. That's ridiculous. You don't even know what American is, if that's what you think.
What?
Americans are not born. Well, I got a passport. That's not being an American. Being an American is to choose the U.S. Constitution as your governing document. Did you know that?
No, it's not. You can't okay, fine. I choose the U.S. Constitution as my governing document. I declare, it's like I declare bankruptcy or something. Simply, I declare it, and that makes it so. Now I have First Amendment protections, right? That is not how it works. Please get fucking help.
That's why, listen, I'm Portuguese. I don't have American blood in me. I have Portuguese blood in me.
There's no difference between Portuguese or American blood. They are identical blood. The fact that he says this disturbs the shit out of me, genuinely. Like, this is mirroring Donald Trump's quote-unquote racehorse theory, his eugenics idea. That some people are just built weak, that they don't have good genes, quote-unquote, as Trump says. This is literally, actually, what the Nazis said. Like, legitimately Nazi ideology.
Are you a German? Do you live in Cincinnati? Listen, you're not an American because you live in Cincinnati. You're an American because you've chosen to bring your life under the rule of the U.S. Constitution.
No.
People on these university campuses, they don't even know what the Constitution is. So when they say it's my First Amendment right to say death to America, death to Israel.
Who the fuck is saying that on a college campus? Who is saying death to America and or Israel on college campuses? Really? Is there a single human being on a U.S. college campus who has ever said that? Please get help. Now, in Jack Hibbs' case, I believe he knows that he's lying. He's doing it intentionally. I don't think he's a gullible sucker who fell for propaganda. I think he's the one making the propaganda in his specific case.
You don't have the right to do that because you're not an American and you are actually somebody who yourself, you have no constitutional rights. We don't recognize them because you're not an American.
Because I feel like you're not an American. Because you don't respect the Constitution to a degree that I feel that you should. So you're not an American in my eyes, and that justifies literally anything. Torture or slavery, you're exempt from slavery protections because that shit is in the Constitution. The Constitution is what protects us from that. That is fucking insane. Listen to this one from Jack Hibbs.
It's the Bible's version of the Ten Commandments, which, if obeyed, everybody's going to live, nobody's going to get murdered, and kids are going to stop lying about what happened to their homework, and teachers are not going to be raping kids anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wow, that went from 0 to 100. What was this one more time?
It's the Bible's version of the Ten Commandments, which, if obeyed, everybody's going to live.
So, 10 commandments are obeyed. First of all, don't know why we would do that. The old law, including the first 10 of the 613 commandments, were done away with, fulfilled by Jesus. Why the fuck are you even talking about the 10 commandments? Certainly irrelevant in an American context where the first commandment contradicts the First Amendment. The first 4 commandments are completely contradictory and irrelevant to the U.S. Constitution. First 4 commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. I can have whatever God I want. That's the First Amendment. You shall not make or worship any idols. No graven images. No drawings, I guess. I'm sorry, but I like art and I can draw whatever the fuck I want. Go fuck yourself. There is It is unconstitutional to impose the 10 Commandments on people. No misuse of God's name. Blasphemy laws? You want to live in a world with blasphemy laws? No, thank you. That's number 3. And number 4, keep the Sabbath day. Christians don't follow that. Or the other 603 laws of the 613 total. You know, no shellfish or pork, no cotton and linen blends. Why would we follow any of that shit? Jesus fulfilled that. We don't follow that anymore. We're not under the old order. This guy is just broken inside. Listen to this one.
You have to come to the conclusion, if you are a person you have neighbors who seek your destruction.
Okay, first of all, I know he's talking about the left. I don't seek his destruction. I want him to leave me alone. I don't want him to harass me or make my life more difficult or anybody else. Leave people alone. You want to preach about gay people at your church? I'm not going to stop you. He is actually trying to make it public policy that it is illegal to be gay. That is what he is doing. What is broken in his brain?
What are they doing? I mean, are we being too nice in a way? I mean, somebody has said evil. You said evil, Steve, a few times. If someone in power is systematically united with others to destroy the Constitution of California.
Wait, who the fuck is organized to destroy the Constitution of California? What is he smoking? This is fucking insane.
And to take custody or jurisdiction over your children. They've got nothing else better to do instead of fixing freeways and stopping crime, but to deal with the transgender sex mutilation business.
That is literally not happening. Literally nobody is doing that. Again, I don't believe for a second that he thinks it is. I don't believe for a second that he buys any of the shit that he's spreading. I think that he is intentionally lying and twisting things around with the intent to deceive people. Simple as that.
What's going on? Who are these people? I'm not saying a Democrat, Independent, or Republican statement. If you support that kind of stuff, I want to know why.
Literally nobody supports any of that shit.
I want to make sure I don't live near you. I am not laughing when I say that. I don't want you near my grandkids. I don't want you near my family. I don't want you near my wife. If you are a person who has voted these people into office.
Wow. So he's amped it up. He's not just saying people who support trans rights. He amped that up to people who are mutilating children. Supporting trans rights is synonymous with mutilating children in his mind. And he amped it up even further than that. If you voted for somebody who, quote unquote, believes in mutilating children, literally nobody does, by the way, that's not what's happening. Nobody is giving children trans surgeries in schools or whatever the fuck he thinks is happening. But now every person, everybody who voted Democrat in his mind is supporting mutilating children, and he doesn't want them near him. Okay, that would be psychotic enough. But what's his solution to them not living near him anymore, quote unquote? The solution isn't for him to live in a gated community. In his mind, it's effectively ethnic cleansing. That's the solution. Get them out of the country. This country belongs to me, and they aren't allowed to be here anymore. I guess not ethnic cleansing, religious cleansing or whatever. Or people who don't agree with my religious beliefs are cleansed from the area. Just insane. Fucking insane.
I personally want to know who you are because I don't want to be anywhere near you because that kind of conduct.
Wait, why do you need to know who I am to not be near me? Can't you just live in your house and go to your church and live your life without doxing people's names and doing all kinds of psychotic shit?
Is dangerous.
Anyway, he's a piece of shit. Vile piece of shit. And unfortunately, he's getting really popular at this immediate moment. I've heard multiple people mention his name as the pastor that they follow. It's insane. Tell me what you think in the comments. All right, timer on that was 1:55. Okay. What was the last video we covered? I don't remember. Lindell. What was it after Lindell and before Hibbs? What was it? What did we cover? I cannot remember for the life of me what we covered after Lindell and before Jack Hibbs. 156. Heck, neither can I. You know what? I could probably just... Can I? Let me see. Hold on. I can rewind. Oh, yeah, that's right. James Taylor. Furries and litter boxes. Yeah. Got it. 47 to 140, roughly. It's not right. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's check on the Nazis subjects. Okay, got it. Yeah, got it. Okay, good. There's this dude named Dale Partridge. He's pretty influential in the Republican sphere in politics. He says the left is like Nazis. Okay, let's listen to his argument here.
After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles humiliated Germany and left the nation in economic and moral shambles. And it was attacked from within by grossly...
No. He's spreading Nazi propaganda. I already know this line. Sorry, hang on. Chewing. Okay. This is called the stab in the back myth. And it was a conspiracy theory from 1920s, 1930s Germany. That the Germans were... that the Germans lost World War I because they were stabbed in the back from inside by Jews. You know, it's really hard to describe what World War I was over. World War II has a pretty clear explanation, right? Hitler wanted to kill all the Jews, so he was trying to take a bunch of land and everything. What was World War I over exactly? The answer really is World War I and World War II were kind of the same war with a 12-year gap in between. Germany got imperialistic and wanted to take over an entire area of Europe and claim it for themselves in World War I. And Austria was attacking the Serbs, was persecuting Serbians, Serbia. And Germany saw that happening from Austria and took that as a signal to go in and, you know, take some regions for themselves and became, like, insane. The Treaty of Versailles, they made it within 40 miles, I believe, of Paris, if I'm not mistaken. Germany did. And wreaked havoc all the way through. It was a huge mess. So they signed the Treaty of Versailles, which required them to pay a bunch of money in reparations for trying to take France and a whole bunch of other stuff. They had their military limited to 100,000 troops and stuff like that. It was Germany's fault for not being good enough to win the war. That's what it was. They were not stabbed in the back by Jews. By the way, I wrote a whole book about Christian nationalism in the Third Reich. It's called God's People, and it's a collection of, I think, 11 essays, biographical essays about important figures in the Third Reich. If you want to give it a read, it's on Amazon and Audible. owenmorgan.com/godspeople. But let's listen to Dale Partridge here. Just repeat the stab in the back myth.
Versailles humiliated Germany and left the nation in economic and moral shambles. And it was attacked from within by grossly immoral Jewish forces during the Weimar Republic.
That is an absolutely wild thing for an American today to say. He's literally repeating Nazi propaganda right now. There's no ambiguity. There's no, oh, maybe he came to this conclusion independently. No, this is literal, actual Nazi propaganda.
It was a period of like extreme degeneracy marked by homosexuality, transgenderism, widespread brothels, child prostitution, sexual exploitation of Christian children. Think about like the Epstein files, but on a larger scale.
No, literally none of that. There was an institute called, oh my God, I can't remember the name of it, but it was run by Magnus Hirschfeld. And it was basically an institute that studied sexuality. And Hirschfeld himself was gay. And they did a lot of studies on like trans issues and things. They were one of the first people or the first groups to ever do a trans affirming surgery, if I remember correctly. And the Nazis came in and destroyed it because it was quote unquote degeneracy, which of course Dale Partridge agrees with. These people are fucking evil. They want to erase people's rights no matter what it takes. You know what else the Weimar Republic was famous for? Codifying women's right to vote the same year as the United States, 1919. That's another thing that he doesn't like, that Dale Partridge has explicitly said he wants to overturn. Another degeneracy from the Weimar Republic, women's right to vote, women's suffrage.
Now, it shouldn't shock any of us that Jews played a wildly disproportionate role in this attack on German culture.
They did not.
And morals. See, Hitler's attack on the Jews didn't come out of thin air.
Holy shit, dude.
Okay, there was a cause. There was an atmosphere built.
Yeah, it was the atmosphere built around hating illegal aliens. Quote unquote. That's the term Hitler used for Jews. Aliens. Really. The rhetoric that you hear people saying about illegal aliens today in the United States is identical, word for word, to the shit that Hitler said about quote-unquote aliens in Germany, the Jews. It was an immigration thing back then, really.
Jews had taken over much of the film industry. They've taken much over the media.
No.
Just as they dominate Hollywood today, they flooded the country with pornographic and sexual content.
No.
To give you just an idea of their level of influence, in 1931, Jews produced 60% of German films and wrote 82% of the screenplays, despite only making up less than 1% of the population.
I'm not sure I believe that, but let's find out. Give me a second. I want to get a solid answer on this. 60%. Hang on. I'm sorry, if you just give me one more second, I'm still trying to find an answer here. Hold on. I'm just scanning through. I'm kind of surprised that he's so brazenly repeating Nazi propaganda like this. You don't normally hear it so plain and open and on the nose. Okay, here we go. In 1931, Jews produced 60% of German films and wrote 82% of the screenplays. No source on this. It's just completely made up, as far as I can tell. I cannot find a source on this. By 1933, around 20% of German film industry professionals were Jewish. There's this document here. Hold on, I'm just looking. Wait. Horek's figure for those purged after 1933 is over 2,000 German directors, producers, actors, and technicians. A significant overrepresentation documented, nowhere near 60%. That is insane. Literally 2,000 directors, about 20%. He's just like made these numbers up completely, is what it sounds like to me. Let me tell you something about kind of how it worked back then. The German church in the Nazi era was convinced that Jews had infiltrated their ranks. This sickness infected every institution in Germany, where they were convinced that Jews were behind everything. They were so convinced that they believed that church organists, like the church musicians, their ranks had been infiltrated by Jews. And they tried to uncover the depth of depravity, the depth of how many church musicians were Jewish, and ban them. 18,000 pastors in the Protestant church total in Germany in the 1930s, like 33 basically, right? 18,000 pastors, 18,000 churches. How many church musicians were Jewish? Two out of 18,000 church leaders. Only 2 were Jewish. 11 were kicked out at all. All of them were Jewish converts to Christianity. They weren't even Jewish. 11 were kicked out total. 2 were legitimately full-blood Jewish convert. You grew up Jewish and are no longer. But the other 9 had like a Jewish grandparent. And that disqualified them to operate within, the church or whatever. That's what is happening right now. That's what this dude is doing. 60% of the directors were Jewish? Really? 60 fucking percent? This is literally Nazi statistical propaganda. Nazi lies. And to say Hitler's attack on Jews didn't come out of thin air, there's a call. That is fucking psychotic, bro. What an insane fucking thing to say. And also, sexual exploitation of Christian children, like the Epstein thing that he said? No. Complete lie. That was completely made up.
So this type of like very public moral decay and national humiliation made radical political solutions extremely appealing. It's why Hitler and the National Socialist movement became so attractive to just ordinary Germans. They promised to restore order and morality and German pride. So this Nazi or National Socialist movement terrified the Jews because it represented a powerful form of Christian nationalism.
Okay, what? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. One more time? This is my expertise right here. This is what my whole book was about.
It's why Hitler and the National Socialist movement became so attractive to just ordinary Germans. They promised to restore order and morality and German pride. So
Jews were not threatened by the Nazi movement because of their values. They were threatened by the Nazi movement because they wanted to fucking kill them. In fact, there were a lot of Jews who were National Socialists. They fit that kind of category because nationalism was off the charts in Germany at the time. There was a Jews for Hitler group until it was disbanded in 1935. And this line he said here, one more time.
Germans, they promised to restore order and morality and German pride. So this Nazi or National Socialist movement terrified the Jews because it represented a powerful form of Christian nationalism.
That's true. There was a lot of Christian nationalism in the Third Reich. Again, nobody talks about this. I discovered that Christian nationalism in the Third Reich is kind of like an abandoned subject to some degree. If you want to read about it, you have to read about the Kirchenkampf, which is the church struggle. And there's some literature on that. Victoria Barnett, Wolfgang Gerlach, Meyer, Scholder, Erickson, people like that have been working on this subject for a long time. And me, I've been working on this. I've done original research in the field. But it doesn't really answer the question, was Christian nationalism a problem in Germany? And the answer is yes, it absolutely was. They called themselves the Christian nationalists. There's a document called, oh God, I don't remember the actual name of the book, but it was basically a church history by Arnold Dannenmann. And he refers to their movement as the Christian nationalists, evangelische Nationalisten, which literally translated doesn't mean evangelical nationalist necessarily, as one would think. It means Christian nationalist, Protestant nationalist, something like that. So anyway, the point is that Christian nationalism absolutely did exist in the Third Reich, and it was the primary driving force behind, it was the linchpin between the church and the Nazi government. Christian nationalism was. Self-ascribed. That's fascinating. This is why I wanted to learn about Germany in the 30s and Christian nationalism and everything. I wanted to understand, I want to be able to answer questions posed like this. And I would call myself an expert on the Kirchenkampf, the church struggle, and Christian nationalism in the Third Reich. But what's fascinating is that people, like modern Christian nationalists, are spreading this idea that Hitler was, or that the left is Hitler, or in a contradictory way, spreading the idea that the Nazis were actually the good guys and that they were Christian nationalists like us, quote unquote. Listen to this. This is Seth Gruber. Is this the one I was looking for? Yes.
There's a weird obsession with Hitler, where he has become worse than the Lord of Flies and the Prince of Darkness. And that to me, that's a really weird thing. Maybe do another podcast on that another time. But so it's 1942. Hitler was not a conservative. His problem was not that he went too far right.
What? Hitler wasn't a conservative? Are you fucking kidding me? In every sense of the term, Hitler was a conservative. There isn't a context in which you can possibly say Hitler was on the left.
If you believe that, that's retarded. You need to stop reading the publications that you're reading. He was a vegan.
You mean literally his fucking books? Veganism is associated with the left today in modern America. It was not necessarily the case, or that was not necessarily the case at the time. He was a vegan mostly for digestive reasons. He had digestive problems. And I think he was a vegetarian, not a vegan, but okay, whatever.
He liked soy milk.
You have no idea if he liked soy milk. You're just stating something that vegans commonly eat today and claiming that he ate that or drank that or whatever. It's nonsense.
Or whatever the iteration of that was then, Tim. Nazi stands for National Socialist.
Hitler specifically chose the word socialist for propaganda reasons. Socialism at the time is different from socialism today. He was violently anti-communist and crushed communists with an iron fist as soon as he got in power. That was his key enemy. And he said the Jews were inspiring and promoting communism, and communists and Jews are basically the same, that kind of thing. Socialism, in contrast, was basically just being in favor of government programs of various sorts. Being in favor of universal health care, being in favor of universal basic income or social security. That's what socialists meant at the time. Communism, on the other hand, had just had a revolution in Russia, in the Russia region, which was the Soviet Union eventually, obviously. October 1917, this revolution took place, and communism, in a form, took root in Russia, in the Russia region, and spread through Europe violently. The communists were nutcases at the time, out of their gourds insane, like the Nazis in many ways, with how far they were willing to go, with how extreme they were willing to be. Socialism was just standing up for the little guy and trying to make things better for the average worker. That's what socialism meant at the time. And Hitler knew he needed the little guy and his support to win anything. So he named himself the Nationalist Socialists. That's what national means in that context. Nationalist Socialist.
But he threw homosexuals in jail. Isn't that what the far right does, Seth? No, there was some weird boy adult sex stuff going on.
I mean, no more than anywhere else in any other context. Every demographic of people has some scumbags who are willing to take advantage of children. The Nazi Party was no different, but there wasn't some... Also, is he implying that the left is like in favor of taking advantage of children? It feels like that's what he's saying right now.
Seth? No, there was some weird boy adult sex stuff going on at the highest levels of the Third Reich. Weird sexual perversion. Okay, so Hitler was a leftist, not a...
No, he wasn't.
Not a far right person.
Just lies. Flat out, bald-faced fucking lies. Insane. Here's Seth Gruber again lying about Hitler.
Newsflash, if Hitler was alive today, he would have identified with the blue-haired vegan lesbian leftist and not the Conservative Party. Did you know that fact?
What an absolutely insane thing to say, really.
Check true. I think that most libs are Nazis. They're socialists. Nazi stands for National Socialists. They're socialists. They universal health care and open borders and import the third world. So they'll vote for us because we know that when most immigrants get here for about 2 or 3 generations, they vote for the party that insisted that they should have citizenship here immediately or illegally and be able to vote whether they're citizens or not. So most the entire Democrat Party is socialist today. Most of America has more socialism in it than our founders could have possibly ever imagined in their dizziest daydreams.
This is fucking insane, dude. This is insane. I need to find give me a second here. You know, I have a TTS system. I could totally get Hitler's original voice and build a model out of it and translate his speeches. I should absolutely do that. In fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna write that down. Voice model, his speeches. Yeah. Yeah, just listen to this very short.
Viewer discretion advised. Creative production content.
Okay, this is a Hitler speech reconstructed in English, basically.
Is advised, particularly for younger audiences.
In connection with the Jewish question, I have this to say. It is
Jewish question is identical to saying the immigrant problem. The Jewish question, the immigrant problem. What do we do about the immigrant problem? The immigrant question. How do we handle immigration in Germany? How do we get Jews to go back to where they came from and get out of Germany? That's what he's saying when he says that.
a shameful spectacle to see how the whole democratic world is oozing sympathy for the poor, tormented Jewish people, but remains hard-hearted and obdurate when it comes to helping them.
It's interesting how the whole world cares about immigrants, but they don't want to do anything to help them themselves. They want America to help them. That's kind of what he's saying here, reframed in modern terms.
Which is surely, in view of its attitude, an obvious duty. The arguments that are brought up as an excuse for not helping them actually speak for us Germans and Italians. For this is what they say. 1. We, that is the democracies, are not in a position to take in the Jews. Yet in these empires there are not 10 people to the square kilometer, while Germany, with her 135 inhabitants to the square kilometer, is supposed to have room for them.
This is the concept of Lebensraum, living space, living room. Hitler was spreading the idea that the Germans didn't have enough room to live, and they needed to conquer more of Europe so that they would have room to space out, basically. It was nonsense.
2, they assure us we cannot take them unless Germany is prepared to allow them a certain amount of capital to bring with them as immigrants.
Yeah, because they were basically commandeering all of their assets. If Jews were trying to leave, they were taking all of their assets on their way out. They have a house that they try to sell. As soon as they sell the house, all of the money immediately transfers to Germany, and the Jews are left with absolutely nothing, which was actually discouraging them from leaving in the first place, because they have an asset here. They won't have an asset if they leave, and nobody really saw what was happening quite yet.
For hundreds of years, Germany was good enough to receive these elements, although they possessed nothing except infectious political and physical diseases.
You catch that? Infectious political diseases, i.e. communism. They claimed that Jews were communists and persecuted them for it heavily.
What they possess today, they have by a very large extent gained at the cost of the less astute German nation by the most reprehensible manipulations. Today,
We are merely paying this people what it deserves. When the German nation was, thanks to the inflation instigated and carried through by Jews, deprived of the entire savings which it had accumulated in years of honest work.
So in 1922, 1923 area, Germany was impoverished after World War I. They had nothing. And the government needed to continue to function. So they just printed more money. And they printed and printed and printed, and they printed so much that the money started to become completely worthless. It was at the start of 1922, I believe. And this all happened over the course of like 6 months or something. It started out as being worth about 4 marks per US dollar. 4 marks per dollar. So the German employee making 60,000 marks a year was making, the German employee making about 80,000 marks a year was making about 20,000 US dollars per year, right? And before you know it, the mark became worth 8 marks per US dollar, cut in half. Now that German employee making 80,000 marks a year is really only making 40,000 per year. And then it went to 11 marks per dollar. Now they're down to 22,000 marks a year or something, right? And then 100 marks per dollar. And then 1 billion marks per dollar. And then 4.3 trillion marks per US dollar. That's how hard it fell. It was dramatic. People literally selling themselves for butter. And Hitler lived through this. He was on the street for a while in Vienna. No, I'm sorry. That was long before World War I. Disregard that. Was it? He fought in World War I, which was 1914 to 18. He was born in 1889. So he lived in Vienna on the streets, if I remember, at 18. Anyway, yeah. The point is, that's what he's referring to, the inflation that completely wiped out everybody's savings. Everything was gone.
When the rest of the world took away the German nation's foreign investments, when we were divested of the whole of our colonial possessions, these philanthropic considerations evidently carried little noticeable weight with democratic statesmen. Today I can only assure these gentlemen that thanks to the brutal education with which the democracies favored us for 15 years, we are completely hardened to all attacks of sentiment.
I.e., we suffered in 1922, 1923, so I don't give a fuck how other people suffer. I don't give a fuck that the Jews are suffering. In fact, they're not even human beings, so they can go get fucked. That's what he was saying here.
After more than 800,000 children of the nation had died of hunger and undernourishment at the close of the war, we witnessed almost 1 million head of milking cows being driven away from us in accordance with the cruel paragraphs of a dictate which the humane democratic apostles of the world forced upon us as a peace treaty.
So he blamed the Jews for losing World War I. He blamed the Jews, the aliens, who stabbed him in the back, or whatever, stabbed Germany in the back, for the Treaty of Versailles. He blamed the undocumented immigrants, the aliens, the illegal aliens, for the hyperinflation. And now people are saying, you're treating these Jews so terribly. In his mind, yeah, we're treating them terribly. They deserve it because they did all of these things to hurt us. You know, does it sound familiar when you hear Trump or whatever other Republican politician claiming that there's a literal invasion of undocumented immigrants coming into the country to try to sabotage us, to try to have babies here in the U.S. so that, like, anchor babies, so that they can stay in America and build an army of fighting age males? You hear that shit all the time from these nutcases, all the time. It's identical word for word to what Hitler said about communists, about the Jews. We're listening to a Hitler speech right now. Does it sound like it? Does it sound that unusual? Does it sound that extreme? Not to me. This sounds like a normal Republican politician.
We witnessed over 1 million German prisoners of war being retained in confinement for no reason at all for a whole year after the war was ended. We witnessed over 1.5 million Germans being torn away from all that they possessed in the territories lying on our frontiers and being whipped out with practically only what they wore on their backs. We had to endure having millions of our fellow countrymen torn from us without their consent and without their being afforded the slightest possibility of existence.
Hitler talking about consent. Come on.
I could supplement these examples with dozens of the most cruel kind. For this reason, we ask to be spared all sentimental talk. The German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation, France to the French, England to the English, America to the Americans.
You hearing this shit? Are you listening to this? One more time. What was that?
Foreign nation. The German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation, France to the French, England to the English, America to the Americans.
Does this sound familiar? This is literally word for word what Jack Hibbs said. I hear this all the time. This is just the first example that popped in my head.
Hey, I want to challenge your thinking. I've been watching a series of American history regarding World War II. And did you know that Germany, they were waving their flags because they were Germans? Did you know that Japan, all the Japanese were waving their flags because they were Japanese? And did you know that the French did the same thing, and so did the Brits, and so did the Americans? Why? Because that's their nations that they live in. But all of a sudden, there's this term Zionism or Christian nationalist. Guess what? You know who invented that stuff? The people who are against the Bible, who are against borders. In fact, those who use that label and promote that label, Zionism or Christian nationalists, they're terrified because it all moves toward a one world global government.
Literally, I have a minimum of 10 examples right off the top of my head. Ken Peters is another one. Dude talks about how we should have borders. There are borders in heaven, and we should think about America first, and America for the Americans, and other demographics don't belong, and all of that other shit. A literal Hitler speech.
And Germany to the Germans, we are resolved to prevent the settlement in our country of a strange people which was capable of snatching for itself all the leading positions in the land, and to oust it, for it is our will to educate our own nation for these leading positions. We have hundreds of thousands of very intelligent children of peasants and of the working classes.
So Jews need to get out of the country because they're immigrants and they don't belong here. Siri, turn on living room. Because they're immigrants and they don't belong here. And they're taking the jobs. They're taking jobs of hard-working Germans. And they're stealing food and, destroying our economy and everything else. That's what he's saying right now.
We'll have them educated. In fact, we have already begun. And we wish that one day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the...
You catch that? An alien race, illegal aliens, literally the term that Hitler used.
One day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the state together with our educated classes. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish, and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation.
America for the Americans. Is this sounding familiar at all? I feel like we gradually walked our way over to a culture that is so over the top extreme, so close to Germany, that you could literally overlay a speech between Hitler and one from Trump, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if Trump wasn't so incoherent. If you lay out the ideas, the policy positions, the complaints from each individual, they would be indistinguishable from each other. I feel like people say, oh, you call everybody Hitler, you call everybody Nazis. These are, like Trump, literal Nazis. Literal, actual Nazis. And these right-wing nutcase scumbags claiming that the left are the Nazis is just insane to me. It blows my mind. There's no way they believe that. There is no way in hell. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Maybe I should TT out, text to speech, some more Hitler speeches that are probably important for context. Tell me what you think. All right, I'm actually going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been fun, and I will see you on the flippity flip, okay? Which means I'm planning Wednesday on Unfiltered, probably 1 p.m. Eastern, all right? All right, later, everybody.